Hey guys, another 1v1 video today. I have some disjointed thoughts as usual, but basically the takeaway is I think ARM is pretty broken. I'm gonna go ahead and watch these replays. I switched back to ARM. It's just been like too much of a struggle. Even for like 1v1s, like at least the maps I've been playing, it seems like
Welcome, Commander.
they're all ARM favored.
Battle started.
Blitz are stupid. I'm still trying to get the bot lab to work. I mean, I lost to Ubivader and Modulo, and I'm pretty sure both of them were doing ARM. I can't even remember right now. I think they both played ARM. And I noticed one thing is that they use Centurions. I just really don't think that that core has a decent answer to them. This one's Canis River. So I'm learning this early game, and I think this one had the least amount of mistakes, but I continually am losing cons. But it seems like the beginning, I guess this is stuff that we already knew, but I don't normally play core or ARM in 1v1s. I always do core. But as time goes on, it's just the speed difference. And having more utility units is, or just having more units to choose from in general is a lot better. We'll get into like why the Centurion is stupid. So the first thing I want to do is I want to check. You send the ticks out because you want to know what your opponent is doing. And it's not just enough to know that like, oh, he's playing ARM and he sent ticks at me. Like, you actually want to know how many cons the other player has had. So that's one of the things I've been learning is switching up your opening based on how aggressive the player is. So for example, if this guy was being super aggressive, I would probably just immediately start expanding with my comm. That's been really helpful to me, but it's not well practiced against core vehicle. I've been playing like that idea was from playing against a really aggressive core bot player. So spamming tons of grunts, and I think it was this guy that I was actually learning that. But I continually, like, multiple games in a row, I don't have enough ticks in the right spot, so I lose in expanding one of my first cons, and it basically just ends the game right there. Like, you lose in a few minutes after that. So I lost that con, but I decided I was going to overbuild ticks, so it was just, I had enough to also take out his. And the game previously, I mismicroed that. Like, the same interaction happened, but I just mismicroed and let one of his cons get away. So he's gonna expand with his commander, which is fine. Vehicles in general are broken because they require less build power to spend your metal. But if you know, usually the bot player would be super far behind. But instead I've been, like, if you look at this, the Centurion costs 4,200 build power for a unit that is 270 metal. The pawn costs 1,650. You're getting, like, I want to say more than twice the unit for the build power, which is super big. It moves slow, but it's like it's a incredible unit. So that'll actually keep you alive. You don't have to like stay on pawns. And this also inspired me because it was like there was a really small map, or it was Sulphur Springs, but I got wrecked in this spawn. I just like couldn't understand why. It was just like really small, and I greeted cons and overestimated how much income I would have. So I got wrecked, but we base traded. Still, I straight up just lost that interaction. It's really annoying. But, yeah, I've also been warming up to rocket bots and stuff, and been having a lot of weird interactions in 1v1s lately. But the guy, I just couldn't understand. I had so much more build power than the guy, but couldn't match our army, and it was because, well, pawns and grunts cost way too much for what you get from them. Like, I just keep saying this, but I think the meta's in a really bad space, and I think that, like, for instance, pawns just shouldn't be... Pawns and... The light units shouldn't be straight-up combat units. They should fill a role and not be every single thing that they could possibly need to be. So I was thinking about, like, what kind of things could be made to, like, make these interactions better, and I was thinking, like, maybe... Arm should require like a button to like give them a speed boost momentarily, but like not be always like... That's the other thing, like everything Arm is faster, and I think that's incredibly unfair. The cons cost more for core and everything moves slower. And actually they have a... I was thinking like Twin Guard are worse than beamers and stuff like that. I was really sleeping on Arm bots until I discovered that Centurions are a broken unit. Broken in that they're like not balanced with any thought put into like how much they cost compared to other units. I just keep saying this. I think that the stuff between the factions is pretty silly. So I guess like what people say is that the vehicle player should try to have at least one more con than the bot player. I'm not sure how that works because their cons cost more. How are you going to keep up and defend? Except that the vehicles generally, the incisors and blitz are like twice the unit compared to a pawn or a grunt. Build power and energy cost wise, so they cost less resources in the beginning. You have to use that advantage. Like you can get a early advantage with vehicles, kind of, if you can kind of like get a big group of incisors or blitz and do a lot of damage. But if that doesn't happen, it's kind of like lost the gamble. And I'm also just getting I'm getting more acquainted with these interactions. There were some other matches. It's just like I was wondering why I was behind on metal produced at a certain point, and I think this guy was opting to res or eat metal instead of resing the units. I think I would normally start here because you have like more metal to expand to. But I like having my build power right next to the Geo. I was forgetting to build the Geo basically in some of these other matches.
Battle ended.
I could like pick one of these at random. Like one that I lost was this one. Also, I was playing this guy. His name is User001, and I was getting really frustrated because he's a 5-shot. But then I was losing to him on Faster Than Light, and then I realized that Faster Than Light is basically the only map that he ever plays.
Welcome, Commander.
So, my pride is kind of safe. I was like, man, this is some BS. And the map, I just don't like that map. It's like
Battle started.
he chose the right map to farm OS. This guy said bad game, and I was like, yeah, I get it. Because I won the one before, and then he wrecked me on this one. And sometimes, like, you have to pay attention to your ticks. So I didn't actually, like... Sometime, there was one match that I just couldn't figure out, like, how many cons does he have? I need to know. And these vehicle players like to expand with 2 cons together. He expands early with his commander, so I'm like wondering, how did I lose this match? I defended quite well, but I think I was relying on ticks. I mean, I was relying on pawns when you can use ticks this early on. They cost more and have more utility as combat units, which is stupid, but that's just how it is. So I think what ended up happening was, one of the big things was he chose the spawn and he got to build the Geo really early. It didn't really do any damage. And also this one, it looks like it's better to make Centurions instead of vehicles. Or switching to vehicles. For, like, Centurions first at least. Vehicles later. Entered my army. And this is just like, okay, he's amassed this big ball of stuff, and like, my army value is gonna build up, but I have to worry about this, and he's just gonna do a big circle around my base. I'm gonna try to get a D-gun. So I'm actually way ahead on metal. I think he's probably gonna eat a bunch of stuff, and he gets his Geo up really early, which is really perplexing that he manages to do this. So the first thing, I assume that I'm behind, but it looks like I actually did a ton of damage. But I have to... Having to defend something like that puts you really far behind on energy, because you just have to, like, all in to survive. So I think it would have been better, and then I blocked my comm in. Stupid. And then he's got the Geo up, so then that's the point where he can transition to air, and there's really nothing I can do at this point. So if I had Centurions, I probably would have actually been doing a lot better. I didn't even want to look at Faster Than Light. Rockets are really good. Here's a Titan Duel. I've really enjoyed playing Titan Duel yesterday. It was very back and forth. I think I might have... I think I lost the last match. It looks like I won it. So this one...
Battle started.
You do 2 cons, opening. You always open with 2 ticks just to figure out what they're doing, see what he's up to. Maximize how much wind you have coming in. Try not to access E. The main thing is like it always seems like I'm behind on army value, but he's always being like super aggressive, so I have to stay on my toes and expand with the radars. Expanding with radar is really important. I can actually start this one over. Expanding with radar is really important. Having your cons on high priority is like a no-brainer, so that you get the mechs built, and always stay ahead on.
Welcome, Commander.
Stay ahead with your E. Build energy storage. Make a con turret. Wait, the smaller the map, or the smaller the map, the sooner you get value with Centurions and like slower units, but still it's not like that great. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, at any point there's a decision you make. Should I make a con turret? Should I ramp up production? Or can I just cheat by building a Centurion? And or any unit that's better on build power than pawns, basically. It's really good to have those big, thick units so that afterwards you can also secure the reclaim or continue pushing forward, or both. Usually it's both, to get the resbots to revive the units, resurrect or whatever. See how I'm like pushing forward with the radar. So if you're being aggressive, you don't need radar nearly as much, but eventually you do need it. We're pretty close. I would say there's no significant difference between the two of us, except that I'm a little ahead on army value, just because I'm arm. That's probably why. My wins are cheaper. My pawns are bulkier. And this could be even more, like if I had made Centurions instead, this army value would be much wider of a gap. So I might not have figured that out yet when I played this. Like, basically, you can just switch to different units to spend your metal. Looks like I got her on him. So, if you expand... Looks like what probably happened was he expanded with his comm. Overinvested in build power. I'm not sure because he... I'm not too sure where our army value was before that, but... Of course, it looks like it was even, but I built Centurions instead of more skirmishers. Infantry bots, fast infantry bots. How was kind of... Each of these games was evolving where one of us would get this side, we'd just pork up in one spot, and I or he would make a dumb decision, or we both made dumb decisions, but he was like less dumb. Yeah, these Centurions, As soon as they're up, they start doing work. So I'm not too sure if like thugs are thugs good. The problem with thugs is that they're kind of like slow and they don't hit their targets. So I would say like, okay, or you might ask like, why, if you're core, wouldn't you switch to thugs? Well, because thugs don't hit anything. Or at least when it comes to, well, again, I don't know how they do against grunts, but pawns are incredibly stupidly good. They have 90 DPS, which is, I'm not too sure how accurate that is because I don't know what their actual effective DPS is, but it's definitely higher than a grunt. I mean, they're basically like, grunts are good, but pawns are just better. I'm not too sure, like, what is better versus a pounder? Is it the plasma bots or is it the anti-swarm bot? I don't know. Usually I wouldn't like pounders against... I wouldn't like mace against pounders because the pounders do splash damage. But the problem with pounders is they suck. They're too slow to do anything. When you build a pounder, you could have built something else, and that something else would have got there faster and actually accomplished something. If you can get around that, yeah. Awesome. Pounder's kind of like a win more unit.
Welcome,
I'm still
Commander.
really trying to like learn these interactions. Like 2,000 hours in, I still don't like. I don't know when a pounder is good or not. Like I used to be a pounder lover, and then I'm like, well, actually, I started building. When I build pounders, usually
Battle started.
they don't. They just get me killed because they don't get anywhere fast enough. So this one he won. I'll open ticks. This was very standard for us, doing the same opener over and over. I don't like how he doesn't space his wind. We'll check to see what he's doing. If I see that he only makes one con, I know it's gonna be super aggro. If not, we're golden to just have a normal match. I gotta be really careful because I quite often lose my cons over stupid stuff like that. Unescorted. Somehow I'm far behind on army value, and I'm not sure why. I guess I built a con turret and he didn't, so... Could have been the Centurion. Inting a bunch of units. Like, if you're far behind on army, it's just like, you know, one thing after another until you eventually die. Looks like that's the other thing, he gets to res a bunch of stuff. Or eat. Guess that wasn't enough LLT, and they're also stalling. They're not firing, they're unpowered. So this is kind of weird to me that he switches to thugs. And I don't have res bots, so that's kind of dumb. I mean, I have one res bot, but it's not enough. I kept getting locked in on these fights right here. It's just kind of silly. Like, I thought this would be fine. It's like, because last time, I guess I was kind of metagaming him because it's where he normally builds up. But now that I'm looking at this, the game state was like completely different. So this should have been a base trade. And joke's on him because I have 2 bases. Instead, this was really silly. I was like hoping the beamers would be able to save me. But, oh man, this was a big throw. And then I could have just had a bunch of Centurions instead of that other base. It's like just stupid. So that was I mean, even now I'm ahead on economy. But he's got all this shit to res now. And I keep poking it before I'm ahead on before I have a big enough army. So I'm just like hoping. I really think that there should be something that prevents units from being buildings is fine, but like units in battle getting repaired is just so stupid.
Battle ended.
So I guess kind of like the theme of this is like switch to better units that spend your metal faster. And that's why we usually go vehicles. Or go vehicles at like 5 minutes, but if you're arm, you have the option to stay on bots and not have to build another factory.
Started.
And it's just a really good unit. So it's like, it's kind of just 2 free Centurions. We were just going through that too fast. I made a comment like, oh, nice, you actually loaded in this time, because last time I tried playing him, Modulo's PC crashed. So I guess we can kind of like see what I learned here.
Welcome, Commander. Battle started.
This is the match. This is the match I said I'm not fucking playing core anymore. Language. My bad. I gotta count up. He's core 2. No, I guess it must have been against Uba Vader. So yeah, I'm not too sure what I did wrong here. Okay, the radar was unnecessary. That puts me behind on army value. My units aren't rallied forward. I think I took my comm off because I assumed he was being super aggressive. Or I thought I was being clever. One of the two. And we're staying close on metal produce. Or yeah, we're close on metal. I'm not sure what went wrong. He's just microing furiously. My units were out of yeah, we're actually, I think we're kind of close. I entered my army into a laser turret. And I like getting a radar up really early, but if you don't need it, you don't really need it. And that's another, like,
Welcome, Commander.
core doesn't have to build an early radar. So that's a little bit... I mean, ARM doesn't have to build an early radar. I guess I didn't... I guess you really don't. As long as you're, like,
Battle started.
keeping all your units in your brain. I don't know. But, you're kind of just required to open with 2 grunts as core against ARM, so this happens. If you don't. He didn't have to give up anything to do that. It's like 800 build power versus for 1600 build power, and then that's 2500 to just fight off ticks. Like, it just seems like ARM has all these units that force a disproportionate response. And I should be a little bit behind. But, okay, yeah, this was it. Like, it's 3 minutes in. How does he have nearly double my army value at this point? Well, he built a Centurion. Now, if I were to build thugs, they're not really going to be useful against pawns. Maybe I'll test that in the future, but I just don't think so. They're actually about the same in build power. So, I mean, I'm trying to be aggressive, and it's just, I'm dumb. It's good to watch your replays because you really should assume that you have about the same army size as your opponent, or have, like, know when that's the case, so attacking them is going to be dumb, and you just let the game progress without being aggro. So he's progressively going to be getting further and further ahead on army value. Not only am I, like, losing a bunch of units to stupid stuff, he's building the Centurions. The other thing is, like, I love resbots, but it's... You kind of want to... Unless you absolutely have to build them, you can push them off a little bit later into the game, because it's one thing to build a resbot and try to res. It's another thing to, like, keep it alive. So you want to have, like, a little bit of extra buffer on army value, or an army, so you can actually just, like, camp on top of the Rex and res. It's nearly, like, twice my army value now. And, like, I definitely made mistakes. But these Centurions are just insane. Now, I'm not too sure why he switches the mace. Maybe he thinks that they're good against Centurions. It's probably true. I don't know. Like, maybe that's the answer. If you're playing core, you should be switching to thugs to match the Centurions. It's always... It feels like a worse option,
Battle ended.
because Centurions do fine against spam, and thugs don't. This was the one where I got wrecked. Here's another thing that I learned. If it's a really small map, rockets are the way as long as there's no incline. If rockets have to fire at an angle, they're much less likely to hit their target.
Welcome, Commander.
It's just like the flight path doesn't cross where units would actually be. So this is the first part where I just had the rude awakening of like what is I lost my train of thought. How strong Centurions are, basically. So yeah, I got wrecked here. I wanted to get to this 3.2 max, but I didn't realize that there was a 3.2 max there as well. So I just got wrecked, and I didn't actually scout with these ticks. I was being very fearful when I shouldn't be. Getting the comm front is fine, but as you can see, you don't really need that much build power to spend all your metal in like these tiny close quarters. So he'll end up having well, he has the ticks, so they outmaneuver. Well, I'm going core. I mean, I'm going arm, so I don't. It's not like a arm versus core thing, but I think the ticks are part of this. It's just like I did not expect it to be like this, and it's like this close. There's not much room to maneuver, and also I'm getting hit by someone in a different lane, from a different lane. So this is like the last minute beamers. All I could really do at this point is go degun his base, but you can kind of see I made way too many cons. I overestimated my income and the walk distance between the bases. So I degunned his base, and then I think the team ultimately lost, but I don't think I was like the only person that lost their lane or anything. Those OP lobbies are never balanced because people's OS is like never correct.
Battle started.
So I actually I saw this map. I decided to play a match afterwards. It was probably like the middle of the night. I was like super tired. No, it was like 9 o'clock. About the end of the night for me. I realized I just need to get my it was a happy accident that this opportunity to test the thing I learned popped up immediately. So I go and scout. Just want to take all the mechs that I could, but it looks like I actually severely screwed up again. I didn't really catch that. Like, he put everything in the army, so if he actually attacked, I would have been screwed. So we'll just have to bear that in mind. And he was like really confused afterward, like, how did you get all that army? It's like, because I took my mechs. But with these distances being so small, also rezzing or eating or rezzing, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I learned something from watching this replay. I actually could have lost in the beginning because he dumped everything in the army, and these distances are so small
Battle ended.
that I'm so full of shit. Oh, that was the one. I think I think that's what I did the last time. I don't want to revisit these faster than light matches again. I think that's about it. Alright, peace.